All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Family Entrepreneur Life. And this time it's actually not live. We've pre-recorded because we are here still in Austin at the live event, and we have the opportunity to shoot a video with two of our members. Some of you may have seen them around. Some of you might know their story, but we're here today with Nick and Wendy Pearson. And Tom and I have loved watching the evolution of, we met Nick at the Screw You live event last year, and all he talked about was Wendy. It's like, oh, I wish my wife was here to meet you guys, and she's helped me so much, and it's just been amazing having her join on this journey with me. And now you guys can see that Wendy has actually joined him at Screw You Live this year. So it's been such a joy to get to meet them in person and to just hear Wendy's perspective versus hearing Nick's perspective about things, because we have a very similar dynamic going on of the idea people and the people that do the stuff behind. So Nick, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about how you got started and then how Wendy kind of joined in on this entrepreneur journey.
So I started my journey in 2013, and it was a totally different journey. I was married to someone else at that time. And my journey started by creating digital downloads for cross-stitch patterns on Etsy, and under a totally different brand, business name and everything else. And I started having a little success. So I was like, if I could do this, I could do anything. So I started really, looking at different ways to do the business. And we have, we're in the crafting niche. We sell crafting items. And I ran into a little bit of a problem on Etsy. I don't want to really go into detail on that. Let's just say I wasn't really doing things the right way. I was going after the fast buck and not the long buck. Okay. And so I had to pivot. And I pivoted, and my ex-wife was into crafting at that time. And she came up, she had this product that I saw, and I was, well, we could sell this. And it took off. And I was doing that for a while, and I actually started listing on Amazon. And going into about 2015, I thought, okay, this is going to be the year. And I had no idea what kind of year 2015 was going to be. Okay, I had no idea what the year was going to be when I first said that. And so in May of 2015, and this is important to the journey because this is how Wendy gets involved here.
Very important.
I came home and the house was half empty. And I can't tell you how gut-wrenching of a feeling that is. And shortly after I got home, I received a text from my then wife. A text from my wife saying that she no longer wanted to be my wife. And so, the only thing I was really left with was clothes, my computer, the product that I was selling. And actually at that time we were selling stencils. And she had taken the machine, so I had to delist everything. So it really impacted my business at that time. And it took a few days, and I reached out on Facebook to just my Facebook friends. I really wasn't part of the group. I didn't know you guys at all. And the first person to reach out as a friend was Wendy. And Wendy and I grew up together. So as many of the people who don't know our story, we grew up together. We've known each other since we were in the 3rd grade. We graduated from the same high school. We grew up in the same neighborhood, but we were never really close growing up. We were just acquaintances that kind of knew each other. So it turned out that from that one, hey, reaching out and saying, I've been through what you're going through, just stay strong, just being a positive, supportive friend at a time when I needed it. And, of course, I tried to reconcile, it just didn't work. So ultimately, I went through the divorce. And we went through a process of talking on occasion to talking just every day to talking every day to talking several times a day to going from Facebook Messenger to talking on the phone to, hey, this is becoming something. So after the divorce was final and we were talking, I'm going to talk about the clincher. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The clincher.
The homework assignment.
She gave me this homework assignment at the end of our call. Homework. And it was a poem that she liked. Okay. So I read the poem. I get off the phone. Oh, there's 2 hours difference. By the way, I was living in Reno, Nevada. She was living in San Antonio, Texas. Oh, wow. So we weren't even able to physically date.
Yeah.
We were actually talking, through the phone and internet. And so, it's still relatively early where I'm at. So I go and look it up. And I take it the next step and I record the poem and send it back to her. And that was it.
I was done.
Well, especially with so you have the best radio voice too.
You do.
Oh,
Right?
You do have a really good voice.
I mean, I didn't notice it as much in person the first time we got together, but then when I listened back afterwards, I was like, man, Nick has the radio voice.
So yeah, hearing him read that poem, the reason I gave it to him was because at that time we were talking so much about, relationships that had been wrong for us and what are you really looking for and what are the important parts. And this poem that I had found many years ago, it so much describes that kind of relationship. And so I really meant, this is what we've been talking about. You should really hear, you should really, well, I had never heard the poem. I'd only seen it in writing. And so to hear it in my ears in that voice, it just, I was done. That was the moment. Yes.
So we met in, again, because we're reunited. Because, we graduated from high school in 1984. We are old. And so we met in Reno in February, and we knew this was a thing because, it was so awkward for us. I had said, there's a difference between talking in person and talking on the phone, and, it may be a little awkward. Yeah.
It was not awkward at all.
It was not awkward at all. But, we joke about that to this day. And so we started really thinking about how we were going to be a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And
I couldn't leave San Antonio. I had the 2 kids still at home. And so there was no question of me being able to leave San Antonio. And so the alternative was this wasn't going to happen or Nick was going to have to move.
And because of the business opportunity I had, the business had grown to the point where I could make a decision about whether or not I was going to leave my 18-year career in the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, I'd kind of gotten to know you guys and seen you around through groups that we've been part of. And so in the span of a week in May of 2016, a year pretty much almost to the day after I walked into the house that I was living with my now ex-wife, that, she's gone. We get married. I'd already quit my job that Friday. And 2 days later, we pack up the vehicle you guys just rode in on, okay, with the trailer, and we moved from Reno, Nevada to San Antonio, Texas. So, and they say you should only do one thing at a time.
Yeah, I was going to say, you crammed it all in one.
All in 1 week. So, we were very excited. We had our honeymoon was a traveling honeymoon, and we have a lot more stories that we could probably go into.
Yeah. Let's do a part 2 with you guys.
Yeah.
So, but she started getting a taste of what the business was about because as we were traveling, I still had orders to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a physical product that we sell, and we actually now have more physical products. And so we would stop, and I'd have to fill orders, at our stop that evening.
On our honeymoon.
On your honeymoon.
On our honeymoon.
The life of an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
This
You
is
got
what she
exposed
married,
very
folks.
quickly.
Okay.
You're living it.
And she's already jumping into it, trying to figure out already where do I fit this? And So we get to the house where, she's owned this house for 20 years, and we start figuring out how to make this all work. And over the course of the last year, she's really learned a lot about what the day-to-day stuff is, and also struggled a bit on where she fits. I kind of want you to talk about how you felt about that.
Well, I mean, so much of what I saw was that this was Nick's business. This was the business Nick built, and I'm the wife, and I'm going to help in any way I can, but it's Nick's business. And it was just awkward, like the envelopes. Remember the shipping envelopes that we had? He was ordering them from a particular source, and just coincidentally, they were the same envelopes that I used at a previous job that I knew I could get them cheaper. But I was very hesitant to tell him, because it's Nick's business. He knows what he's doing. And so I finally got up the nerve to say, I think I could probably find these for you cheaper. So I took him to this local place that I dealt with for many years at my previous business, and he was like, how? And so there were just these little bitty hints along the way that I felt like I could help, but I never really felt like partners. I still felt like it was Nick's business, and I was just there to be the good administrative assistant or something like that. So yeah, it was a struggle, and I don't think even after we got the business name together, I still don't think I fully felt like I was a full partner. And I really don't think it was until I started designing the stencils myself.
Yeah, we actually intentionally, I did this intentionally. I wanted her to, we got a general partnership, a DBA, just so that, two things. Number one, if anything ever happened to me, the business could still continue, okay? And two, it was really to help Wendy with the mindset of you are half of this business.
Yep.
This business does not run without you. And, it's not just my business, and you're just the wife. We're operating out of our house. So it's part of our life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a business, but, I wanted her to have some ownership and take ownership of it. And it wasn't until she really started designing stencils that, that helped us out. She designed 35 stencils in like a week. Okay. And, which was really difficult for me to keep up. Okay. Because you have to cut them out. And then there's a process for going through photographs and all this other stuff that I do that I've been trying to teach her on. And it gave me the opportunity to also teach her some of the back end stuff. That's the day-to-day stuff that she didn't know that she wants to learn. Well, within an hour after putting these online, we're selling her designs, and people are buying.
And I was like, wait, hold on. Yeah, that was the part. I think probably that was the biggest pivot, I think y'all call it. I think it was the biggest pivot was like, oh, I can actually not just give you tips.
You're
just give you
contributing.
hints. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when I felt like I was a part of the process or a part of the team.
All right, I got a question I'm just dying to ask. So Nick, you as entrepreneurs, we go through challenges, and usually it's a business challenge or it's a personal challenge, and you got hit with like both and everything all at the same time. How did you get through that? Because I mean, we face challenges all the time, and the beautiful thing is, we've got each other with that. I mean, as you go through just everything, business and life, how do you come out on the other side and not only come out, but like excel beyond that?
Something I don't generally share with people is that when I was 16 years old, actually when I was 15, it was discovered that I was born with half a vertebra missing. Okay. And when I was 16, I had it surgically arrested. Okay. It kind of derailed my life a bit. Okay. But I learned through that process, that one incident right there, determination. And doctors told me, you'll never be able to do this You'll never be able to do that. You'll never be able to do anything physically active. I achieved a black belt in Taekwondo by the time I was 23. I was a bicycle racer, 10, 12 speed. The racing bikes, not the mountain bikes, because they didn't exist back in the 80s. Okay? The 18 years I was in the gaming industry, I was moving slot machines as part of my job. To be told that you can't do something, and then finding that determination, you can't do it if you just want it bad enough. So, yeah, I got, went through that divorce. I could have stopped the business right then.
Yeah,
absolutely could have.
Most people
But-
probably would have.
And some things did stop. I was doing a podcast for another website that I have, and that stopped because I needed self-care.
Mm-hmm.
But the business could not stop. I was determined. First of all, determined because I wanted to succeed, and determined because, no offense, guys, but I wanted to show that woman that left me that you gave up on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I'm glad she did.
Yes,
Well.
and so there was a bit of a spitefulness to it.
Mhm.
Okay, and it drove me for a while. I'll be quite honest, it did drive me, but that's not a positive drive. It's just drive. And but more importantly, it's my faith. I have a very deep Christian faith, and I came into faith in 2013, and I went through a process to become Catholic. And when that all started happening, I didn't turn away, I turned to.
Mm.
And I leaned on the one thing that some people may not believe in, but I believe heavily on. And because I believed heavily on that, it got me through that. And as a matter of fact, that faith and that Christian belief is so important to the both of us. It was the foundational thing of what we were talking about the entire time.
And that's
And
part of the reason I reached out was because I've been a Christian for many years, and part of what I reached out was to tell him about, I knew that as a new Catholic that it could be really hard. And so I told him about a class that a church offers and suggested he try it because it's a very spiritual approach to healing from divorce. And a lot of the things, like he would record prayers for me and things like that. So a lot of our early conversations were spiritually based. So that was a very big foundation to where we came from.
so I leaned on a lot of different things. And I feel like I came out the winner on the whole thing. Because the business not only is, the business was not the big thing. That, having Wendy be there and being the support and then really growing that relationship was beautiful at a time that I absolutely needed. And, seeing the success of the business going from nothing to, having it be at a point where I could actually leave my 9 to 5 to marry and move,
Mm-hmm.
and really pursue dreams that I had. It was so vital, and I'm very blessed for that. So to get through that, but to answer the point it was that determination that I had, that I learned from the time I was 15 to 16, and learning that doctors don't know everything, people don't know everything, and people who judge you don't know you.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Such a powerful story you guys have. And for me, it's been so nice getting to know some of the couple entrepreneurs, because we see so many of the characteristics that we have and the way that we're so different mirrored in a lot of the entrepreneur couples that we found that enjoy working together and work together well. So I love seeing that, you kind of brought Wendy along, and then she's now figuring out she is her own person in this and she can do things, because that's how I started out, thinking like, oh yeah, I can help. I can do little things here. And then having to move into that mindset of like, no, I'm actually contributing was such a large change in me and my mindset of things. So I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I'd love to hear a lesson learned or a piece of advice you have for all of the entrepreneurs that we have watching, or maybe some entrepreneur spouses that we have watching this show.
My advice is, if you have a business and you're bringing someone into that business that isn't necessarily a part of it, or you're really growing it as your own, but your wife or your husband or significant other is not really a big part of it, be open about it. Be talking about it and share it, because it's part of your life. Whether you want to, whether you go to an office offsite or you work out of the house, it's part of your life. And you talk about your job when you come home. Why don't you talk about your business with your wife or your husband? And if there's interest, find ways to include, because I think that gives buy-in, especially if there's interest on buying in. But you also kind of, as Tom could probably allude to, you got to be persistent on that. You got to be persistent. And, once there's a little bit of buy-in, there's a little bit of window, then, okay, you can make something, you can start making something. And
from my perspective, it's, I was so afraid to even start making the hints with it, like I said, with the envelopes. I was so afraid that, what do I know? It's your business. What do I know? And so being from the outside, being brave enough or confident enough to say, hey, I think I have an idea. And then you being gracious enough to listen to my ideas.
And I want to hammer that point home. Whenever you have those moments where your partner, your spouse is willing to give you ideas, be present and open to listening, because that's huge. Okay, because if you can't listen to that, you're really not going to listen to anything else.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so we just got done today giving a couple presentations, and Nick, I've loved meeting you, watching your journey, and then hearing about Wendy last year, and then not seeing her until this year. But what's cool about hearing this story, and even just talking to you guys over this weekend, is so much of what we talked about today, like you guys have actually lived. We talked about the mentality that you have and the paradigm and the victim versus the victor, and I didn't know that story about you, but you took the victim mentality. It's like, it's not the doctors telling me I can't do something, right? Like, how can I do it? And then let me go out and do that. So I just love the fact that, we were talking about a lot of these things today, and you just naturally, and we're already doing that. And that's what has helped you guys get to this point today.
Well, so one thing I talk about to some people, we all have moments in our life, defining moments. And it's whether or not the moment defines you or you define the moment.
I wish I had a microphone right now. I would totally mic drop.
And, it's all about the mindset.
Love that. So if anyone's interested in what you guys do, or just finding you and connecting with you online, what's the best way for them to do that? I know you have a website and all that sort of
We have multiple websites, but the main website that we have is endlessinspirations.net. That's where we blog on an occasional basis. And we also have all of our products available on there. We also have some, we do put out, we're looking at expanding what we're doing. That's a process. But yeah, that's the main place we have.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy, for sharing your side of things, your perspective on things. I'm so happy we got to meet finally. I'm glad in person, in real life. And I'm so glad to get you guys on the show. I was like, we have to get these guys on the show. We've been talking about it for so long, and I wanted to interview you, and this was just the perfect opportunity. So I'm so glad we got to make that happen. And thank you guys, and find these people. They're great. They're great to connect with. And, just it's all about making the connections. So, find people that are speaking about what you want to hear about, what you are thinking about in your life, in your business. And if you're watching this from our Facebook page and you haven't yet checked out the community, go over to familyentrepreneur.life.com. That is where we all hang out and we share our stories on a day-to-day basis. We come in and we share our struggles, we share our wins, and it's just a bunch of us family entrepreneurs that are all building a business for that family life that we crave. So thank you guys again so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having us.
That is all for tonight. And hey, you never know, maybe we'll have them back for a part 2 at some point in the future.
There we go.
Yay!